Hello and welcome to another edition of the Godfreys Law Real Business Solutions podcast. I'm your host Brad McDonald, and today it's my absolute pleasure to be joined by Louise Neville from Accounting Solutions Limited. Welcome, Louise.
Thanks, Brad. It's always a pleasure to come down here and have our working relationship. So we share a lot of similar clients and have got great relationships with them. So Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're most welcome. It's great to have you back on the podcast. You're what I like to term a repeat offender, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. So, Louise, in talking about what we were going to do for the podcast, we sort of brainstormed a few ideas, as we do. And there were really a couple of topics that came out. And so in this episode, we're going to be talking about, I guess, sort of the macro environment in New Zealand, for New Zealand business in 2024.
Yes.
What's going on out there, the headwinds, the doom and gloom, the opportunities, the challenges, and all those sorts of things. So business owners and business leaders can help manage their business through these times to become successful.
Yes.
And stay successful.
Yeah.
And evolve and change and grow and all those wonderful things that we're all continually fighting to do as business owners.
Yes. And I think one of the first things is looking at where the economy is at today. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to be in a soft recession, not a hard recession. So the GFC was a really hard recession on people, and especially business owners. But at the moment, we're sitting in a soft recession. And what is a recession is the GDP has to go backwards for two periods in a row, 2 quarters, which it did in September and December, but it was only 0.1 and 0.3. So that's why they're calling it a soft recession. But as we've seen in the news, all the layoffs with the government departments and the interest rates are still up there. So things are feeling quite tough, and especially with inflation and, everything is pulled on our take-home money, really, isn't it, our home?
Yes.
So that is happening in business as well. And as clients are coming in, they're actually, a lot of them are in their record years, which is incredible, which is a fantastic place to be in.
Yes.
But they can't celebrate. They're not feeling like celebrating it because they're looking forward and going, where are we heading?
Yes.
It's very uncertain because a lot of the media as well, but also the talk out there with their clients, just the conversation out there is not a positive conversation, which is a real shame.
And I want to jump in there because I know, and I don't want to downplay, the struggle that many people are experiencing in terms of cost of living crisis. The for want of a better term, and it's a terrible term actually, but the average man and woman on the street, people are really doing it tough. But what I'm seeing, certainly in many of the people that I interact with in my business, is that many people are still doing well. Many businesses are still doing well. Of course, there are many businesses that are facing challenges, that are looking to restructure, make redundancies, etc. So it's not plain sailing by any stretch right across the board. But there are pockets that are still doing very well. And I wonder how much of what we hear from the media, and the sky is falling, it's doom and gloom, how real that is. I mean, are you seeing that across the board with your clients, or are you?
There's a real mix going on.
Yes.
So, as you know, we do a lot of business mentoring. Clients come in, majority of our clients come in every quarter, and we are always doing business planning. So a lot of what people are facing now with very little work ahead of them,
Yes.
our clients, and of course a lot aren't as well, but they were gearing up for this last year. Mm-hmm. They were getting themselves, their websites up to date and getting all their marketing in line.
Yes.
Whereas if you've been so busy, you haven't been able to do those sorts of things, now's a perfect time to be jumping in and doing that side of it.
Right.
And also, a big part of it, you can jump onto our website and have a look at it, but it's called ANZOF, and we had ANZOF Method, and we had Jenna at work do a video on it and put it up at Christmas, because we saw it paramount that people need to really look at their client base, their customers, and their target market, because in a recession, there is not as many buying. And so as there's not as many buying, you need to go out and stay with your target market,
Yes.
but broaden your advertising and bring in more clients and customers that fit into your target market.
Yes. A couple of thoughts there, Louise. Firstly, what's your website address, please?
www.asl.co.nz.
asl.co.nz.
That's it.
Secondly, when you're talking about those buyers in the market, when I think about buyers in the market, I think about, the retail spend, the people going out to restaurants, etc. And obviously that makes up a huge proportion of New Zealand SMEs and businesses, terribly important. Are you seeing that some of that same sort of softness, demand softness for services as well, or are you seeing it more in the sort of retail, maybe hospo type space? Where are you seeing some of this?
Well, we mainly deal with manufacturers and trades and services,
Yes.
and professionals. So where we are seeing it is businesses that were booked out a year in advance, like it might be the factories, the manufacturing side. They might be booked out now 6 months or 3 months. So what it is the lead time is not as long. And do you know, that's not a bad thing, because if you've priced work out way into the future, you can change, you've got time to change things. Our retail that we have, yes, we have seen a pinch on that. On that side, and hospitality as well. But in saying that, you can also change your target market. So if you can't go out and get more of your target market, you could actually look at either taking your products into a totally different target market, or you can swivel and go, right, what products? I've got all these customers. What products can I change and sell to them? So that's another side. Or you can get a new product,
Yes.
and a totally new target market, which is the highest risk to go into.
Right, okay. You talked about, Louise, so just to jump in there, talked about that ANSOF matrix, I think it is, and I think you referenced that's on your website.
Yeah.
And so I've seen that matrix before, because you've shared that with me, and it's a very interesting thing that I encourage people to look at. It's not the movie, it's something quite different, but it's still a matrix nonetheless. So there are obviously lots of different plays that businesses can look to make in these sorts of environments when we're in a recession, that there are headwinds, and customers may be hard to come by, products may be lagging or not selling or what have you. So I take it there are a number of different options out there, Louise?
There's many.
Yes.
So one of the first things I say to people is, where do you really want to be? Where do you really want to be in 5 years' time? Because sometimes we get too focused on the scarcity and what's going on now. We forget to dream, and we forget to look at what were we really wanting out of our businesses, and where were we really heading with our business. So it really is, if you could stop and take yourself out of reality of right now and jump into the future. We're going very
matrix right now.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Jump right out into 5 years and really look and plan that big picture.
Okay, yep.
Pull it back down to 1 year, and what does that need to look like for you in 1 year? And then it's quite amazing of what's going on around the world.
Yes.
Apparently, for our productivity in New Zealand, we have to do another 9 weeks' work in a year compared to the UK for productivity. This was at the Institute of Directors meeting last week.
Right.
And we've got to do another 9 weeks' work a year to get the same outcome that the UK people can produce. And to me, that's like, why is that? And the ASB person who was speaking gave a really good talk on our small business that you were talking about, and our financial institutions, and how overseas there's a lot more capital available for growth, for investment into new product
technology.
or technology. Yep. AI, all that sort of thing.
Yes.
Whereas it's only our top 5% businesses that are up to date with AI around the world, whereas most small to medium-sized businesses are lagging behind in the AI. And it's because the directors of the businesses and shareholders, it's mums and dads' homes that's up for grabs if everything goes wrong. And so as directors, we are adverse to risk.
Yes. Yep, that's right.
So it was it was a fantastic talk, and I can see it totally with our client base. Is our houses are on the line, aren't they?
That's right. They are. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. One of the interested, and I think you've touched on this, Louise. One of the things that I know that I can be guilty of as a business owner is you know, seeing the wood for the trees. You're so busy in the trenches, or getting the water out, or pumping the bilge, or whatever you're doing at times. Look, businesses are challenging. They're also great opportunities and rewards, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong and regularly do, and fires to fight, and so on and so forth. Is some of this, what you're talking about, this planning, this zooming out the bigger picture, that we actually need to unshackle ourselves from the day-to-day as business owners and actually take a closer look at where we're heading, I think is what you're saying.
Yes, otherwise, if we just carry on our day-to-day, we'll have life happen to us.
That's right. Yeah.
And so we really want to cause our life. And if you have planned the future, you will see the opportunities as they come up.
Yes.
So if you have done a plan out to 5 years and 1 year and gone out into your industry and looked worldwide, what is going on in that industry?
Yes.
And then bringing it back to home and going, what can you do here to alter it to make advantage of that?
Yes.
And it might be putting in totally new technology, and it might be equipment, it might be robotics. We've got a client in the North Island in Auckland, and he makes robotics. Now, it's quite surprising how cheap it is to put robotics into a business. I was really surprised. And so you just got to start thinking a bit, be a bit adaptable and flexible. And
well, that's what COVID taught us, wasn't it? I mean, I think you mentioned before pivoting or swiveling, however you want to term it. That taught us, it just put us all on our ass just about, and we had to pivot real quick, didn't we?
We did. One day we couldn't work from home, and then next minute we can do our whole business from home.
Yeah, exactly. So what are some of the things, Louise, you've just mentioned some of them, for example, investing in robotics, technology, AI, whatever it may be, but what are some of the common threads you see across your most successful clients in terms of them, being adaptable, surviving, thriving, growing, evolving, and being successful?
I think they're really in tune with their clients, really in tune with their customers, of what their customers are wanting.
Yes.
And they adapt and change and bend over backwards for them.
Okay.
And, when we all get busy, and it was the same at earthquakes, wasn't it?
Yes.
You don't have time to do that. But actually, that's one good thing about a soft recession, is losing a few customers and maybe showing the odd employee who may need to go, like the opportunity, showing the door of opportunity.
The door of opportunity.
The door of opportunity. Sometimes it's not a bad thing.
Yes.
It gets you to slow down.
Yes.
And actually remind yourself of why you're in business, and that, that heartfelt, what is it that you want out of business, but why are you in business?
Yes.
And that big why, your purpose, there's nothing better than talking from that and from your values. And by doing that, you're going to attract more customers and fulfill your existing customers with a lot more satisfaction.
Yes.
Because what you're going to do is the passion will drive you to go and get your customers what they need.
Right. Okay. Just thinking about getting alongside your customers and really tuning into what they need. Any thoughts or tips or ideas on what your best clients, or even yourself and your business, how do you do that? Because that can be a challenge, can't it? Yes,
it really can. And looking after your team is a very important point. But if you also need to look after cash flow. So one of the things is going through and resorting and selling anything that's obsolete, and just anything that's no longer going to be used, getting rid of it, selling it, putting the cash back into the business for the areas that you may need, like technology. But the biggest thing I think is, well, I'm an accountant, but knowing your numbers. So to me, that's a key, is you need to know where your business is right now. And So if I look at our most successful clients, they know exactly where their business is at. So when they need to make a decision, they don't need to go and say, can I afford it? How's it going to affect my cash flow? Because they already know things like their profitability, their margins.
Yes.
What was the sales this month? What were their margins this month? What's their profitability? But also, not only that, their cash flow. Where is their cash flow at?
Yes.
And just knowing things like what's our number of customers? What's our leads? How many leads come in the door, and what's our trend of our leads? Are they dropping? But what category? So if you look at your target market, is your category dropping off?
Right. Yeah.
One area.
Yeah.
And let's hope it's not the profitable area. And then the other piece is conversion. Is your conversion starting to drop? So does that mean there is a lot of competition out there?
Right. Yep.
And then the other thing is average dollar sale. Has that started to drop away? What's your trend? What is going on? And then the value of every transaction. So just those things make up your sales. So knowing those things and seeing the trends is quite important.
So knowing your metrics, Louise,
Yep,
your
knowing your
financial
metrics. And then knowing your cost of goods sold.
Yes.
It's so important for every business. Is what does it actually take to produce that one sale, and what is the alterations in it. And you can do a lot in that area. You can do a lot in all those areas I just talked about.
Yes.
But it's honing in and seeing where you are starting to see a slip. So then you can react fast and get it fixed. And so the beauty of knowing your numbers is you can correct your business within 3 months.
Right. Okay. Well.
So that's the importance of it.
Okay, well, that's quite powerful. Knowing that's the maybe scary and powerful. The turnaround time, because obviously to make change, you've got to take those steps, and I think a lot of people think, things just happen instantly, or we certainly hope they will.
Yeah.
But real purposeful change, certainly in business or any area of life, takes time, doesn't it?
It does, and we've
but
got
maybe not as long as we fear.
That's right. It can be quicker.
Yeah.
But as work in progress and stock, if you just think of those things, is we've had to ramp them up and get a lot more. Like I've watched businesses go from a normal stock and work in progress of 300 to 900,000.
Right.
Well, they've had to fund that.
Yeah.
And now in a recession, you've got a quicker turnover of your stock and your work in progress. So we find it starts to slip back down. And so it took a lot of funding to get it. And then they think they're fine because there's plenty of cash flow there. But what's happening is their stock and work in progress is getting eaten away and put into the bank. But then it's a slow downward spiral. And so then if you're knowing your numbers and seeing this trend, within 3 months you know that there is time to do something about that.
Right. I think the key, and again, I just go back to this wood for the trees type thing, business owners in the trenches, as I like to term it, when things are maybe hard and headwinds and it feels like everything's going wrong, or whatever you're doing is not right, that's really where the value of professional advisors comes in, isn't it?
Oh,
Louise?
Definitely.
Because if you can't make sense of it,
yep.
You need some help, don't you?
You do. And that's a starting point.
Yes.
So you get in and get the help,
Yep.
but it's keeping the help.
Yes.
So our most successful clients, they've been doing the same thing over and over again, coming in every quarter, doing business plans, jumping into group workshops or individual workshops.
Yes.
And they've been doing that for 8 or 9 years.
Right.
And they're the ones who can adapt and alter and be flexible and building their wealth for retirement. And you can do so much more because they feel in control.
Right.
That's your difference. So it's come and get the help, but you then continue have your professionals around you.
Yes.
Always.
Because I think, and look, that's really good advice. If anyone listening to this podcast, take one thing away today is having those advisors around you and keeping them there. Because I think, when times are tough, I think many people that I see that I've interacted with over 20 plus years of being in business and doing the legal bit, is that they run for the hills insofar as the professional advisor. Oh, it costs all this money. We can't afford that, cut that, and like I get it, but I think there's real value in that, and you can cut your cloth accordingly, and obviously you and I both know it's about supporting your clients through good and bad times, so it's not always about, well, what's in it for me.
No.
It's actually about, well, how do we navigate this?
Yeah. Well, my big thing is it's about having financial freedom. So to get financial freedom, you can't do that overnight, and it's working along beside your client with a future, which is their future vision. Yes. What they come up with in their business plan that's what we stand for. So we're going to help them get there.
Yeah.
It's not about money for me. It's about them seeing their journey out into the future. And to me, that's the most rewarding thing of being in business, is seeing the success. And we're starting to see it, so we've got clients starting to retire and sell their businesses for way beyond they'd ever believe.
Right.
And it's such a thrill, a real thrill.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I think we all need people to hold us accountable.
Yeah, it's important. The accountability piece is hugely important because nothing gets done without accountability.
Yeah, and that's the thing I'm seeing of the new clients that are coming on board. That's what they have been missing, is having someone to teach them the skills, but then to help them keep accountable, to keep it in place.
Yes.
And they're not used to coming in every quarter. And so they find this a bit odd. But after a year of it, they would never think of anything else. So, and they're coming in with bad cash flow,
yes.
In crisis.
Right.
And so to me, you've got to fix the crisis first.
Yeah.
So they can focus and concentrate, because for mental health, there's nothing worse than living in crisis.
100%.
So then moving forward, it's about where to.
Yep.
But first you've got to fix the crisis.
Fix the crisis. You put out the fire and then go, right, well, how do we avoid that, and what does that look like moving forward, and what are the proactive, positive steps we take, and how does that look?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Louise, before we wrap up today, so you mentioned your website, asl.co.nz, and I've had a look around the website, and there's all sorts of resources, valuable resources on there, so I'd encourage people to check that out. But if people want to have a conversation with you to talk about their business and the year ahead,
just ring Accounting Solutions or send me an email.
Yes.
Louise, LOUISE at asl.co.nz, or just get on the phone, 374 9393.
Fantastic.
Love to hear from you. And thank you, Brad.
Yeah, amazing. Look, thank you so much, Louise. It's always a pleasure chatting with you and hearing your insights. And it's even better that you and your team are just down the road, and you're a fantastic bunch of professionals who are very passionate about what you do. And so it's great to have you on the podcast once again. So thank you very much.
Right, have a great day, and thank you.
Thank you. You've been listening to another edition of the Godfreys Law Real Business Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Brad McDonald. It's been great to have you on board once again, and stay tuned until next time. Thank you.